What's up guys, Peter here from Reviews on Anything, and the topic of this video is bicycle safety. Now I'm Dutch, I'm originally from Amsterdam, so I've been brought up with biking pretty much ever since the day I could walk. And in all my years living in Amsterdam, I've seen bike accidents happen pretty much on a daily basis. Now the situations are usually not that dangerous when it's all nice and sunny outside, but when the weather, darkness and visibility in general get a bit more tricky, it's very easy to get overlooked as a cyclist. A bunch of people at a company called CYCL in the UK thought the same, and they thought, how can we make the biking experience in general a bit more safe, and how can we make sure that cyclists are better seen. They looked at a car and they thought, okay, heads and tail lights is pretty obvious, a bike has that too, but the key thing that a car also has is indicator lights. So they came up with these. These are called Winglights, and they are exactly what car indicators are, but then made for a bicycle. These go on the end of your handlebars. There's two of them here actually. And they're little aluminium pods, you can almost call them. These are the magnetic versions, so they are attachable and detachable again. They also have a permanently fixed version. And it's an indicator light for your bike. Now what we're going to do is take a closer look at first, but also attach it to my bike and see how they work in practice and if it's actually worth getting this for your bike and if it actually solves the situation of, not being visible enough. Alright, so here we are up close with the Winglights from CYCL. Here's what you get in the packaging. This is the packaging, by the way, a nice little box. Obviously you also get a little manual with some images on how to install them, but they also show that on their website in a few videos. You get the two Winglights on a little keychain ring that we'll look at later. That goes with the carabiner obviously, and you get the two mounting brackets. Now they also sell a permanently fixed version. Obviously these are separate because this is the magnetically attachable and detachable one. On the fixed one you just have the lights on your handlebars all the time, and obviously they're fixed to the mounting point permanently. Now I like this system a bit better because it gives you more flexibility in terms of taking them on and off obviously. Coming from a city like Amsterdam where bikes tend to be treated pretty roughly, they fall over, they get damaged and so on. I think it's quite nice that you can take them on and off. Besides that, the system with the magnets is very well executed here, so that actually makes it pretty enjoyable to use this way. Now they're two little pods made of aluminium, which makes them nice and heavy, nice and durable, and they're actually waterproof. Obviously you can imagine when you're biking around, the last thing you want is your lights to get short circuit because of some water. And because they're made of shockproof strong aluminium, they can also take a bit of a beating. You can imagine when your bike falls over accidentally with your Winglights on them, you don't want them to shatter at first impact. Obviously they're not bulletproof or anything, but they can take a few knocks and bumps, no problemo. Now this is the ring that comes with them. Since they are detachable, you need to put them somewhere. So they click in on each side of the ring, and since they are magnetically attracted to each other, it stays in place very nicely. The magnets actually are quite strong. I'll show you that on camera as well. You can see that they snap into place pretty hard. And you don't have to apply a serious force or anything, but they have, you quite need to pull them apart properly in order to make that happen. Which obviously, is key, because the last thing as well that you want is when they're attached to the mount on your handlebars and you drive over a bumpy street that they bounce off and you gotta stop and pick them up every time. That's a disaster, so these are properly engineered to stay on in pretty much any circumstances that you would encounter, when you're biking around normally. The button here at the end, you press it and the LEDs light up, and that is all there is to it really. It's not enormously bright. I'm not sure what the lumen count is on this, but it doesn't need to be. When it's dark out, it is bright enough to be seen, and since it's blinking, it draws attention to itself anyway, and that's the whole point of the exercise. Now the button is pretty simple. It's an on-off button, that's all there is to it. No different modes or no different settings going on here whatsoever. The good part is that you can just hit this button with your hand, like so, and that's all there is to it. So you don't, they've thought this through, that it's not a tiny little thing that you can only, press with a toothpick. Because you can imagine people also bike around in winter with gloves on, or with all kinds of things on their hands. So you want something that you can just hit and it works, which is exactly what this is. So again, very well thought out and very well engineered in order to make this as functional as possible. Because again, it's the same thing, you know, like attaching them and taking them with you. If this is not done properly, it renders the whole product useless, because then you can only use it in summer, or you can only use it with bare hands, or you know, it makes things way too complicated and not suitable for all situations. Because this is so well engineered, you can really use it all year round in any kind of circumstances with anything on your hands, and it always will work on you, which is absolutely key, because that makes the whole experience good all year round, which makes you want to use it all the time, which is obviously what this is all about. My only complaint, albeit slightly, is the little ring on the keyring. This is slightly flimsy. It's a very thin piece of metal. They could have made that you know, a bit more substantial. Maybe put a slightly bigger ring here as part of the whole construction that you can pull the carabiner to. That, you know, it's the one thing that doesn't feel solid, because even this ring is nice and thick, feels really good. So that's the one thing that stands out as not being completely solid. Other than that, it's a fantastic product right here on the table. But obviously what you want to see is me attaching it to a bike and showing you how it works in real life. So let's take it outside, let's do that, and find out if these Winglights are any good in the real world. Okay, so here we are outside with my bicycle. Now there's two things I need to point out. First of all, these handlebars are not super suitable for what Winglights has in mind. Obviously you can imagine when the light is over here, it is partly obstructed by my body, which is sort of defeating the whole purpose. The Winglights work best with handlebars that have a minimum of 45 degrees like this, or stick out completely to the side. The second problem is that my grips on my handlebars go all the way over. There's grips that just have a sort of a rubber stop at the end that you can just pull out and you're good to go. But these require a bit more work. You have to actually cut a hole in the back, or you have to remove the entire handle. So we're going to do that and then install the mounts so the lights can go on. Now, as you can see, I've cut the back off the grips, which is a bit of a fiddle, because you got to work with a little scalpel that you get from a hobby shop. So it's a bit of work there, but now you can see that the actual metal of the handlebars is exposed and they're ready to install the mounting points. Now installation is a doddle from here on. I got the mount right here. I'll show you how it works. There's a little screw here on the top, and obviously the bottom turns as well, with a rubber in between. Now obviously they have to accommodate for different size handlebars, and as you screw this in, the rubber will expand a bit because it gets caught between the two parts, which means it can fit pretty much any kind of handlebar. And what you do is you sort of wind it up until you can put it in with a bit of friction, and then when it sits you can actually wind it completely tight with this end. So let's see how that works. We got it reasonably wound up here. Let's put it in. You can see there's a bit of friction now, but I can still push it in reasonably well. So I push it in as far as it is going to go, and then I just wind it completely tight so it doesn't fall out. There we go. That's all there is to it. Now you might be able to see that it is not completely snug here with the brown leather part, or rubber part it is actually. That's just due to my bad cutting, to be honest, because I didn't cut it completely straight. So there's a bit of an opening. I don't see that as much of an issue, because any kind of water that falls in will just drip out. Some dirt could accumulate here, I suppose. You could move your hand when their handlebars are not glued in or anything, or the grips are not glued in. You could push them a bit towards each other to make a good seal. I suppose worst case scenario, you can put a tiny bit of sort of waterproof tape here if you want to seal that completely. But this is all there is to it actually. Now it is attached, so we can take the light, click it on, and that's all there is to it. As you can see, both Winglights are on. Imagine you're making a turn. All you really do is hit it and that's all there is to it. It starts blinking and all is well. You can hit it again to turn it off, but it will turn itself off after 45 seconds. So that's actually a nice feature to save a bit of battery. There's plenty of battery life in there. They reckon at least half a year with normal use, because you can imagine they only blink for a couple of seconds at a time. So that's a good feature. Once they're on, you don't really notice them when you're driving around. Your hand fits here, you're not likely to knock them off, as you can see. Pretty solid, pretty stable. They're not going to drop off unless you actually physically pull them off. I like the one hit operation, super easy, couldn't be simpler really, and that's really all you want. No buttons to fiddle with, no settings to set or preset or reset or anything. Just on, off, that's all there is to it. All in all, I really like the experience of the whole Winglight package. Yes, it's a bit of a hassle to, in my case, cut open the grips on your handlebars. Other handlebars might just have a rubber flap that you can just pull out and that's it. Yeah, that is a bit of a hassle. I suppose it takes a couple of minutes for installation. But if you think about it, any kind of bike light usually requires you to install some kind of mount, so that takes a couple of minutes as well. And Winglights, or CYCL more specifically, has done a great job in making the process as simple as it could be. Besides the scalpel, no tools are needed, no higher degree in engineering is needed to get it on. Just cut the end off, plop it in, screw it tight, and you're good to go. I think that is something that translates into the whole product. It is very well thought out. It is a product that feels like it's made by people who actually have a bicycle, not somebody who just sat in an office and thought about biking. Anything from the installation process to the strong magnet right here to the simple on-off system that doesn't require any time. It's really well thought out, and after that they've engineered it really well. So the magnet is strong, the operation is simple, the durability is solid, the build quality feels good. So it's not only a good idea, but it's also an idea that's executed really well. And that's something I can really appreciate in a product that does what it is designed to do. It is only one thing that it does, that's all there is to it. It is to indicate which direction you're going to. It doesn't make any secrets about what else it is. It has no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi connection, no speakers built in, none of that nonsense. It does what it does, and it does that really well, which is my favorite kind of product. I like it a lot. It's maybe not the cheapest solution, but I think definitely well worth the money if you are a daily commuter on your bike, if you cycle in environments where it's really busy and therefore dangerous. I think it's worth the investment. In the end you can't put a price on safety. It's a bit of a cliche, I suppose, but I think it's worth the money. And if you don't want to get the detachable version, the permanent mount version is quite a bit cheaper, so you can always go for that. This is Peter from Reviews on Anything with a look at the excellent Winglights from CYCL. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!